Good morning, and I want to welcome you to the Sunday Forum here on June 21st, where we're going to talk about the important work of Emmanuel Academies. But before we begin, Steve, that important discussion, I just want to wish you Father's Day. Happy Father's Day.
Thank you, and all of the others of you out there who are experiencing the same. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to go out to a restaurant today or just a further social distancing at home, but we hope that you all have a blessed Father's Day at home. Steve, we want to talk about this important ministry of Emmanuel Academies. You know, recently we've been talking a lot about Emmanuel communities, and people have been going out to the park and they've been watching Will conduct those drive-in services. But we haven't had as much time to talk about Emmanuel Academy. So this is a marvelous opportunity because there's a lot going on. Mm-hmm. So maybe we could begin our conversation with you sharing with us what is now the vision of Emmanuel Academies, and not just the vision for the future. What's the reality of what's happening right now?
Okay. Well, it's important to know that this has an equally long history with Emmanuel communities. I mean, we've been working at this for over a decade. But the vision really surrounds itself in developing a new generation of church leaders that will develop vital congregations, flourishing congregations. And there are three aspects to that. One is they will have easy accessibility to their study, high quality education. We'll see more about the partners. It's going to be very low cost in comparison to what the past has been. And it will be done in a congregational context. Right. The other thing I would say about it is our students, I like to call it, they're going to be involved in an intersection of learning with different cultures, languages, ethnicity, as all a part of this academy that we're developing here.
You know, the bottom line of what you're saying is that ministry still matters.
Yes, it
in
does.
Congregations, and that congregations are really charged to raise up leaders.
Well, we found out that many of the congregations don't have pastors. Even in the ELC, maybe 1,000 pastors short.
So we want to show this short video clip. It's entitled Ministry Matters. And I know you love this clip. It's got many important themes. And so we want to show that to you right now.
When I was a little guy and my aunt would take me to church, it would last 3 hours. But my aunt was always so happy when I came with her so she could show me off to her friends. At the end of church, they would swarm over me and they would ask, "So, when are you going into ministry?" 1, I'm 7, and 2, lady, I'm trying to make it through a 3-hour church service. But this was a serious question, the most powerful question of all. So, when are you going into ministry? When? Because the best thing that you could do was to serve your people, bring good news to the poor, proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free. When? Because there was no higher calling. When? Because for them, ministry mattered. Remember when the word came to Jonah, God said, "Go," but Jonah said, "No." Jonah ran the other way, tried to drown out that call. He knew that sometimes in ministry you can feel alone. So alone you'd rather be in the belly of a whale. So alone you're writing letters from a Birmingham jail, dogs barking, fire hoses, trying to drown out that call. But here's the thing. The waters of baptism are so much stronger. Do you know what Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said? When I die, do you know what I want people to say about me? I'd want them to say I tried to feed the hungry. I'd want them to say I tried to clothe the naked, to visit the prisoner, to welcome the stranger. If they say I was a drum major, say that I was a drum major for justice. That's what Dr. King said. Say that I was a drum major for peace. Say I was a drum major for righteousness. If they say anything about me, say that I was a minister. Say that what I did mattered. The talented these days dream of what they can be. And we tell them you can be anything, doctor, lawyer, teacher, poet, but only rarely do we ask them, so when are you going into ministry? I don't know if you've looked around, but as long as this world is broken down, ministry still matters. It's one of the best things you can do, to dedicate your life to serving others. Ministry still matters. It matters to the ones whose lives you influence. It matters to those whose lives you save, even if it's just one. Ministry still matters. So I'm standing here with the whole cloud of witnesses, with my aunt and all her friends, with Dr. King and all the unnamed martyrs who laid down their lives for freedom, with Peter and Paul, with Phoebe and Lydia, with all those who serve and continue to serve without fame or fanfare, sometimes even without thanks. We are all standing here together, and we are testifying. Ministry still matters. And if we fall silent, very truly I tell you that even these stones will cry out. It matters to the 7-year-old and the 70-year-old. It matters to the weak and to the bold. It matters to those who have never heard the stories told. There is no higher calling. Ministry still matters.
Oh, I love that film for so many reasons. And I know that film has really touched you as well, hasn't it? What are the themes that you love the most when you see that? And how do those themes best reflect the work we're trying to do with Emmanuel Academies?
Well, the first thing, I love the title. I mean, when I saw the title after being a pastor for many years, I said, ministry matters, really, and it does. So the title itself, but then when you get into the movie, you see this young man that was encouraged by his grandmother. And it reminded me how important it is for people coming along in ministry to have somebody behind them that encourages them and helps them identify talents that would be a good fit for ministry.
We can all tell stories about who played that role in our
I've also talked about that pastor we know, Steve Meisenheimer, was up in Knoxville, Tennessee. 25 young people coming out of that congregation alone. So that's an exciting part of knowing there are encouragers. The other thing I think is in this video, you see that the ministry, the church is not confined to the walls of a parish, but extends into a community. That's why this young man spoke about Dr. Martin Luther King as an example, an influencer in the whole world at that point. And if we have some other stories, we think of Dietrich Bonhoeffer in the Lutheran Church. So it's a way of breaking beyond the walls of the parish into the community.
So ministry still matters. And at the bottom line, that's what Emmanuel Academies is about, raising up new leaders. And so that's what we want to talk about now is what is happening now at Emmanuel Academies. What excites you the most at present?
Well, I have to say that we have a very dedicated board of directors, and they're always urging us on. I mean, they're just keep the momentum going, you know. So we've got that. Alongside that is the reality, and now Howard will say more about this, about nearly 17 students that are coming on the horizon.
How many?
17 students, Rick. And we'll see that in the year. The other thing I would say that's exciting about this is that these students, again, represent a new background. I say that especially in terms of Emmanuel Lutheran Church. When we brought Pastor Jose Lebron on at Emmanuel Community Church, he came out of the Dominican Republic and talked about his educational needs and even some struggles to get an education. But we've been able to simplify that for our students today. The other thing I think is really exciting is the quality of our partners. Sioux Falls Seminary in, obviously, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, with the Luther House of Study, our seminary of affiliation, which is Luther Seminary in St. Paul. And then with the bachelor's component, still Concordia University out of Chicago, and a new discovery that Howard had was Palm Beach Atlantic University. So in other words, we're bringing kind of a hybrid of schools together in a new model. I think you used to like to call it a new mousetrap of innovation in terms of education.
Trying to build a better mousetrap for theological education.
One other thing would be our faculty mentors. You are one of them. We have now identified 3 faculty members here, meaning Dr. Bliese, also Pastor Clay Schmidt, who's in Wisconsin, but he's well aware of our program and rooted in it.
Former president of Southern Seminary.
The provost of Lutheran Theological Southern Seminary. And then one of our local pastors up in Lehigh Acres, Pastor John Carrera, and he also will be one of the faculty members. That will then dovetail, because we have 3 mentors for each student, faculty members, also local pastors as mentors, and some personal mentors that will be alongside.
So, Steve, there is so much going on at Emmanuel Academies and stories that we haven't told in the congregation in a long time. So we wanted to find out the best way to bring the whole congregation up to speed on what is happening at Emmanuel Academies. And so we put together this short video to tell the story. Let's watch it right now.
Emmanuel Lutheran Church, a church who has been serving the Naples community for over 60 years, is a church with a mission. God's mission of reaching others through word, sacrament, and service. Emmanuel Academies has become an extension of Emmanuel Lutheran Church to create leaders for Christian service, providing opportunities for educational development, vocational training, pastoral leadership, and ordination. 2019 was an extraordinary year as this dream became a reality with programs that involved the entire Emmanuel congregation. From Mondays with Emmanuel to providing 3 microloans and enrolling more students in our pastoral degree programs. Emmanuel Academies is educating a new generation of leaders while making a difference in our community and in our world. At the beginning of 2019, Emmanuel Academies only had 2 students enrolled. It is with great excitement that with your support, we've added 8 more students with many more discerning their calling. With your continued support, we can make the dream of becoming a pastor a reality for more in our community who are called to ministry but need an alternative pathway to get there. God has done some amazing things in 2019, and we want to thank you for your support as we continue to fulfill the mission of Emmanuel Lutheran Church. And our mission has only just begun. How can you help? For Emmanuel Academies, you can help provide more congregational education programs, scholarships for another 8 students, and support for future pastors. Wherever God is leading you, with your support, Emmanuel Academies can help fulfill Christ's Great Commission. Together with time, talent, and treasure, you can help us today to continue the mission of these vital ministries into 2020 and beyond.
Boy, when you see that story, you can get really excited. I mean, which of those developments sticks out for you, I guess, that gets you most excited about what's happening right now?
Well, the fact we've got students, so we've got a growing field of new candidates. And I think once it starts, we get some momentum. We're going to see, I think, a groundswell of pastors because the church has a great need.
Now, of course, you're playing a leading role there, supervising Emmanuel Academies like Emmanuel Communities. But we've called Howard Isaacson to help lead Emmanuel Academies, and he's just doing this marvelous job of finding students. And so we want to bring him up now. We want to talk to Howard to see from his vantage point what excites him the most, where are the most challenges, and where do we need the most support from the congregation.
We have a great team.
So, Howard, welcome to the Sunday Forum.
Well, thank you for having me. It is a pleasure to be here.
You know, Howard, I was just talking with Steve about what excites him the most about recent developments, because so much is happening. Let me ask you the same question. What excites you the most about what's happening right now at Emmanuel Academies?
The most exciting thing is the number and diversity of our existing students and those students that are enrolling to start with us in September. It is just incredible.
So tell us, we've got our first MDiv. We got some in the 5-year program, but the first MDiv student who's going through candidacy, who signed up at Sioux Falls Seminary in the Luther House of Studies, Mary Osen. Can you say a word about her?
Yes, I'd like to share my screen with you so you can actually see some images. And so on your screen, you should see an image of Mary Osen. She, as you said, Rick, was our first seminarian. She was called more than 15 years ago. She had this internal call and it was validated externally. But because of cost of seminary, the way seminary education was structured, and the fact that she had to continue to work full time to support her family, traditional seminary was not an option for her.
Right.
As we launched our program a year ago, she was the first one to enthusiastically raise her hand to say, please, I want to join you.
We're very excited about Mary, but Steve was just saying we got 17 students, and I think you've got some pictures of the students who will be with us this fall in various dimensions of our programs.
And that is correct. But before we get to the fall, I want to share with you images of seminarians faces that you are familiar with.
Oh, we are familiar. Yes, we are familiar.
And so we, Emmanuel Academies, is leveraging the success of our former pastoral residents and our current pastoral residents, the lessons that Emmanuel, the congregation, has learned, that we have learned as mentors and learning partners. And our current pastoral residents, we are hoping will be replaced in time by Emmanuel Academies pastoral residents as they continue to build up their skill set.
So let's just emphasize that again, Steve. The expectation is after Carol and Lois, we want to have some of our own students from Emmanuel Academies play that role as resident pastors here at Emmanuel.
The other thing, Rick, is already these 4 students, resident pastors, have documented their experience that they've had within our program and our congregation. They've got extraordinary stories for everybody to hear.
So what are the other pictures, Howard, of our other students?
Sure. So here are the 5 students that have just completed our spring semester.
Okay, there's Mary that you were just talking about, right?
Mary Osen is on the screen. And then we have Pastor Edward Makara from Rwanda.
Now tell us about him, because I think he was the student that met Pastor Lee, Frank Lee, when he was in Rwanda. This is the student that he met, right?
That is correct. The story is just incredible how this whole Emmanuel Academies and our work is really spirit-led and driven. Of course, as we know, Pastor Frank felt the Spirit calling him to participate in a global mission trip to Rwanda, where he had the pleasure of meeting Pastor Edward. Pastor Edward conveyed that he had always dreamed of a real seminary education, but that he could not leave his family in Rwanda and he could not leave his community. And Pastor Frank, of course, being the opportune gentleman that he is, said, hey, I think I have a solution for you.
Thank you, Frank, for that. All right.
Can I add something to this? Because we all had a chance, when I say all, you and Howard and I, to go to Rwanda. And what was parallel to that was the discovery of these I call it an extraordinary witness that these young pastors have alongside a very difficult history that occurred, 25 years ago in Rwanda. So they are, I would say, storytellers that bring a whole new dimension to our church at this time.
And these are just 4, Howard, but we're expecting quite a few more students to step up in Rwanda, aren't we?
That is correct. So we had 5 students complete the spring semester, and they are continuing onward. And then we have a total of 12 that are beginning work starting in the fall for their Master of Divinity.
This is so exciting to see the faces, huh?
And some of these faces we know, right? Some of them might be people we have not met yet, but I bet in our congregation, again, especially some of these on the top row, Howard, I think these are members of Emmanuel that we know really well.
That is absolutely correct. Of course, you recognize both Frine and Anna.
Yeah.
They are members of our 5-year leadership program, which includes a bachelor's degree and the master's degree. They have completed both have completed a year of undergraduate work and are now beginning their graduate work on top of their undergraduate work that they're continuing. You'll recognize Anne Marie Gomez, who is a member of the Mooring Line Drive congregation.
Right.
You'll recognize Julio Ruiz, who has been active in Emmanuel Community Church and plays guitar in their band.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll also recognize definitely the name and quite possibly the face of Anna LeBron, Pastor Jose's daughter.
Wow.
Anna lives in Chicago, has been called, and between work and life has never had the chance. We're able to bring the program to her and for her to learn theology, pastoral formation, to become a pastor, and we're thrilled to
I know
welcome her.
Jose is thrilled that her picture is up there, that she has signed up for this program. And who are the we've got a lot of the other names and faces here are all over the country, aren't they?
That is correct. In the bottom row, these are faces and names that I don't expect you to recognize. We have 2 out of the 7 are here in the Florida Bahamas Synod. We have 1 who is out in Tulsa, Oklahoma, who is an alum of the TEAM program and who wants to continue his theological education. Yes, that's Pastor Alvaro. And then, given the success of the program in Rwanda and the Lutheran Church of Rwanda's excitement about the growth of the 4 that are already in, they have nominated 4 additional students to remain in Rwanda, but participate in our program with local pastoral leadership, our faculty mentorship, and their faith formation and growth.
I want to pick up on that growth notion because some people might be a little confused, looking like these are already pastors that have achieved their Master of Divinity, but they've been serving in congregations, but now for the first time have a chance with Emmanuel Academies to actually get their Master of Divinity degree.
I think this is the most exciting picture for me because when you say 17, that seems like an abstract number, but now you see the faces, you get a sense of where Emmanuel Academies is going. You know, Howard, you're not just leading this by yourself. You're not just leading this with Steve. You've got a board of directors who is helping you, board of directors from the congregation, which has been there the whole time, giving advice and counsel and financial support.
Right.
Could you introduce us to who is on that committee? And maybe, Steve, you can say a word there too. And then we want to hear a message from the chair of the board.
Okay.
Absolutely. So Dr. Pat Goodyear is the chairman of our board. And we have George Wardenberg and Mike Hansen, who are what I refer to as our external directors, members of the Emmanuel congregation, but with years of experience, exposure to different aspects of education and theological education. And we're thrilled to have their leadership and their guidance and their emotional and financial support that have brought Emmanuel Academies from where we were, which was just a dream,
not so long ago,
to an actual reality where we've got multiple programs. We have, as you've seen, phenomenal students, and we are being embraced by the Florida Bahamas Synod and by the ELCA as well as a valid and worthy academic program for the Lutheran community.
Yes,
I think it's key, too, that all of these leaders on the board have said they're so excited about investing in people rather than just buildings, because a lot of the cost has been in putting buildings up that are not effectively used anymore. So we're oriented around the lives of new leaders.
So we want to now hear a word of encouragement from Pat Goodyear on behalf of the Emmanuel Academies board. Let's listen to Pat.
Absolutely. So when I tell you that we have 15 new Master of Divinity students beginning in September, what is your response?
I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed with thanksgiving, but also a deep, deep sense of responsibility. You know, you don't venture into something like this with a half heart. It calls for wholeheartedness. And I've been involved with it for what now, 4 years? I don't know, 4 years at least, I think. But anyway, it's like it's happened. It's so exciting to be there, you know, for it, you know, on the cutting edge, like I said, a prototype of things, current things to be. So
Share with us, Pat, the reasons that you have invested your dollars into Emmanuel Academies.
Howard, it wasn't going to be possible for me to say no. I felt the Spirit so deep inside of me, not only from what I saw when I traveled, but just knowing that the church has to continue to thrive. And so when we talk about looking at dividends where you invest your money, so many of us think of outcome in terms of money for money. But this isn't the way this works. The dividend of investing in Emmanuel Academies is far greater than any of us will ever know or ever see. And the other part of that is we don't have to know. If you truly believe that the Spirit is blessing this program, I don't need to know the outcome. I know that it will be blessed. This is Spirit-led, and I could not be part of it. It was just where, you know, it was where my heart was. People who are looking for a dividend that they can count at their dining room table, this isn't, you know, this doesn't work that way. The end point or the end dividend for this kind of ministry is eternal life, not only for us, but for those who will be saved because of it and nurtured along the way.
Right.
So that's the dividend. Where can you get so much energy and so much happiness and so much gratification out of a gift than to give to the church for the promotion for the church and for the extension of the kingdom? I just don't know. To me, that's a gift for me to be able to give a gift. I'm happy.
Oh, thank you, Pat. And it's good to see her speaking to us from the park, right? From an asset of Emmanuel Communities. Right. Howard, we want to thank you for your leadership, for the board, for their leadership. They push, they guide, they support in so many different ways. This ministry and its growth and success would not be possible without that dynamic group of leaders. And so we thank you, and we thank the whole board and others in our congregation at Emmanuel who supported it. So thank you, Howard. Steve, you know, the work of Emmanuel Academies is growing right now. I mean, we see that with those pictures. Right. What do we need now to do together as a congregation, really to continue to grow this very important ministry?
Isn't it a wonderful name, first of all, Emmanuel Academies? I mean, that basically says what? God with us Academies, gives us great hope. If we're going to ask about the immediate future, a couple of things that I would say to you, and one is certainly to keep praying for this venture. It's a venture that I say with some bold humility to it, because we're determined to move forward with the help of God on this. So certainly be prayerful. The other thing would be to become more informed. This is a step in that direction now, because as I said, Rick, we've really, for 10 years, there's a backdrop here, and we've done a lot of work to try to bring it to the congregation. But now we've got some really exciting news. I mean, 17 students.
It's real now.
It's real. Exactly. It's real. The other thing I would say is that, you know, I'm learning a little bit about organizational development. Didn't study much of it in seminary, I'll tell you, but part of that has to do with the different levels of organization. Right. I would still say in many regards that we're in the infancy stage. Okay. When you're in the infancy stage of an organization developing, you need certain things. And one of those, you know, if it's a mother nursing the child, they need the milk. We need the nurturing of financial support at this time. I can be rather specific about that because we need $1.5 million. We're praying for that to sustain our first 5 years. And that has to do with ensuring scholarships and continuing the operations for the next 5 years. So that is a goal, $1.5 million. And we hope that you would consider that investing in the lives of these people. And what's exciting about that, Rick, is I heard before, as we were looking at how a pastor affects the lives of others, one of the statistics says that a pastor touches, get this, 10,000 lives over their call.
Right.
Now, if you do a little of the math on that, let's just use that as an
just
example.
do the math on that.
Do the example. If one pastor maybe has the blessing of touching 10,000 lives over the period of the call, we've got, let's say, 17. That is 170,000 lives that we are being a part of in terms of the investment into this program.
And we're hoping to double that number by next year.
That's
It's not
right.
to maintain just at
Right.
17.
So I think the final thing would be to try to get excited about what is the boldness of this venture. I mean, we're really stepping out. And when I say we're being noticed, I say that from the standpoint of gratitude that people
Right.
around the country are hearing about this. And as a result, opportunities are developing.
You know, the bottom line is, Steve, ministry does matter.
Yes, it does.
And we've really noticed that the last few months as we've been hit by COVID-19. We've had business pressures, work pressures, unemployment in many of our communities. Now we have there's all sorts of things happening. And so the role of the congregation, the role of leaders in the congregation have never played as important a role as today. And so we want to, again, thank Howard, the board. We want to thank the congregation, which has gotten us this far. Again,
That's right.
10 years ago, this
Thank
was
you.
all just a vision, what might happen in the future, but now it's real. And we want to thank our leadership. We want to thank the congregation. And please keep this important ministry in your prayers. We thank you for joining us here on this Father's Day. Again, if you've got a prayer list, write down Emmanuel Academies, and even better, write down some of the names of the students that you saw so that you're praying for them individually. Remember to pray for us here at Emmanuel because we are praying for you.
We have a vision together, all of us. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye now.